There's no common understanding of how adults are supposed to heal trauma from childhood, how that happens, where it comes from, what exactly you should do when you want to overcome all the problems. And so if you are trying to heal from abuse and neglect in childhood and all the ways that it's played out in your life and how it still may be holding you back, it's not surprising if you feel lost and not helped by what you've tried, maybe even hopeless. Don't be hopeless. There is hope. Healing really is possible. And I've noticed that different people respond to different treatments. And while most mainstream treatments work only for some people, they don't help everyone. They didn't help me, and yet I had an experience once. It was very strong, of a healing power that rose up in me. It's something that I've felt at different times in my life, but it was the strongest on this one day when I was the most depressed I'd ever been. I was in danger. I was so depressed. And part of what made me feel so hopeless was that I was already doing everything you're supposed to do when you're falling apart. I was in therapy 3 times a week. I was taking medication, and still I was getting worse. I had this frantic energy, like PTSD kind of energy, even though my doctor and therapist didn't recognize that everything I was going through was trauma symptoms, classic ones. I had all of them. And I had this intense, panic energy that was making it hard for me to figure anything out cognitively. So I was trying, but no healing was happening. And if you've been there, it's terrifying. When things are that bad and this power that heals you eventually does show up, you do recognize it. So maybe you felt it in relation to trauma before. Everyone's felt it sometimes. It didn't happen with the therapy, but it happened with something else. And it was a feeling of relief. And I started calling it the good feeling. And it's something like a very soft breeze that runs through you, a calm feeling, a sweetness, no panicking. And for healing trauma or anything, the healing power that gives you this feeling and the part of you that can actually feel it is only the tip of the iceberg. This feeling is natural, it's part of you, it's helped you before, and the only reason you haven't realized it or learned how to access it is because all the information noise about trauma out there. People are just saying all kinds of things that, I don't know, maybe you find it true. I think there's a lot of stuff out there that's not really relevant. People often believe wildly different things about the nature of trauma and what to do with it. They say you have to get over it, but how, right? They say it's trapped in your body and you have to release it, but how? And they say you need to see the connection between what happened to you and what you're struggling with now. But is knowing all that really all you need? And they say trauma damages your immune system and your ability to focus and connect with people, and I think so too. But even if you know that, what good is it if you're too down to make some heroic recovery? How are you supposed to know what you need? What do you do? And this is where that healing power comes in. You are designed to heal. You were born a complete and whole human being. There is a true you, and as you grow and develop in your life, even with the wounding, physically, emotionally, that you might have suffered through accidents and trauma and addictions and mistreatment, your body and your mind and your spirit still remember who you are. And they will always try to come back to that, back home. That is you. So think of grass. People in my courses know I often describe things in metaphors. And my metaphor for your natural healing power is grass. Now, if you take a big piece of black plastic and you lay it on top of nice green grass, that grass will wilt and then turn yellow, and eventually it will die, or it will appear to die. It can't get sunshine. It can't get water. And let's say a herd of cattle is walking all over it back and forth on top of the plastic every day, and the earth is packed down, and nobody even remembers there was grass under there after a while. And then one day the wind kicks up and it blows that piece of plastic 20 yards away, and the rain falls and it soaks the earth where the old roots of the grass are, where the grass seeds may have been dried up for months dormant, and the earth softens and the roots and seeds absorb the rain and they soften. And the next day, the sun comes out warm, and what happens? The seeds sprout. Roots go down. Little tiny sprigs of grass begin to form and start reaching up toward the sun. And the growth is quick after that. What is happening? The grass is healing. It can't help but be grass. Just like you, it can't help but be you. It is natural for you to heal when you have what you need. It's as natural as it is for grass to return when it has what it needs. Water, sunshine, not so many hooves tromping on it all the time. The grass is designed to be grass, and you are designed to be restored too. So long as you live, that is what you are meant to be. You don't have to believe in anything metaphysical to agree with me about this. Think about a time when you skinned your knee or your elbow, and it hurt, and your skin was open, and it was vulnerable to infection, and yet your body knew just what to do. And it sent all the right elements of red blood cells and white blood cells and down into your capillaries, and it circulated, and it managed to clean out the dirt all by itself. It knew what to do. And then it used some of that blood to form a scab. And cell by cell, your body restored your skin to its original form. That's like you with trauma. Are there scars sometimes? Yes. And are there wounds that can't heal? Yes. Some things. We can't really predict what they're going to be. It's worth a try to heal everything that feels broken. Think of someone who loses a leg. They can't grow a new leg. Not everything grows back, but they can have a prosthetic leg that allows them to have a full life anyway. And that's also like you and your trauma. You may need workarounds, but you can live fully. Abuse and neglect in childhood hurt you, but you're not meant to stay stuck in hurt. You might not know how to heal the hurt, just like you don't know really how to heal skin. Do you know how? No, you don't have to know. It's just something that happens. It's natural to heal. We don't live forever, but while we live, we're designed to heal. So what is that power, the wisdom of your body, that feeling of comfort and peace that comes across your spirit, your emotions sometimes when things are hard? That life force within you. I hadn't thought about it very deeply until my life force was threatened. Back when my kids were small, I had a surgery that ended up with terrible complications. And it had to do with the birth of my first kid. And though my baby was okay and still is, it didn't go well for me. And I ended up very injured and had to wait several years before I could get all the damage repaired. Well, that's what the surgeon tried to do, but that went badly too. And there was a life-threatening complication. And I survived, but with even more damage done to my body. So they did another surgery, and then they had to do another different one. And they were trying to solve problems from the last surgery. Each surgery was leaving me a little worse off than the one before. So they'd plan another surgery, and all in all, I had 14 major surgeries. And I was in and out of the hospital over a period of about 4 years. And during that time, I ended up in the emergency room dozens of times. I was bleeding out. I had life-threatening infections. I had to get myself to the hospital by myself while all this was happening. And it was it was the hardest time in my life ever. I was newly divorced then, and I had small kids, and they were with me at home, and I didn't have help. And so there was just so much trauma going on in my life. And at that time, I had a surgeon who couldn't figure out why each surgery was failing and why I was getting more and more damaged each time they tried to fix the damage. And I know now that it's normal to have trauma in your life interfere with the ability to heal. My body was trying to heal, but it just couldn't. It couldn't quite, get over that hill. And the sadness in my life and the loneliness and the intense stress and fear going on and the helplessness, the worry about caring for my kids adequately while I was, trying to handle all these crazy medical problems. It took everything I had. But the first time I really felt that healing power in me was one night when I was hospitalized. I was there for a full month. This was July 2005. And I was in so much pain, and I was weak, and I could barely even walk to the bathroom. I was so immobilized because they had to put these big inflatable wraps around my legs to squeeze them and release them so that blood clots wouldn't develop while I was laying there so long. And so much had gone wrong after one of the major surgeries. So they kept me there and they had me lie very still. This was at UCSF in San Francisco. It's an excellent hospital. I had an excellent surgeon, but still. So I hope I never have to go there again. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the people there who helped me, especially the nurses. A good nurse is a powerful blessing when you're struggling to get well. There were some that I will never forget. And some I can barely remember, honestly, because I was pretty doped up on morphine a lot of that time. But they'd come into my room at night when they had a little bit of free time, sometimes one or two, sometimes more of them, and they'd give me emotional support just because they had 5 minutes. Some of them asked if they could pray, which of course I said yes to. And there was a woman who came each week and played the harp in the hallways, which I loved. That was the highlight of every week for me during that time. It was beautiful, and I felt so much love coming from her willingness to do that. She was just a volunteer. And everyone seemed to conspire to help raise my spirits. Even the woman who came in to clean my room at night would lift my spirits. She would sing a little bit. She was kind. And I was really grateful. It is really hard to be in the hospital, and it's hard to be alone, and it's hard to be in pain. When you lose a lot of blood and you have to be transfused, it really takes the strength out of you. And I've never been so weak and tired in my life. Like, I just couldn't even lift my arm. But my body was working very hard to heal me. And that life force, it was there. I didn't feel energetic, but there was a very strong force going in and healing me and restoring me, bringing me back to nearly mint condition. So mostly I slept. That's a good thing to do when that level of healing is necessary. But I just had no energy. Then one time I woke up from sleeping and I felt something. I felt like, all I can call it is life. I felt life in me, a little more than I'd had when I went to sleep. Oh, and what a good feeling this is, a little bit of life. So I slept, I ate a little bit, I slept again. And after a few days, I was able, with a walker and all my tubes hanging off a pole on wheels, to walk out into the hallway. And all the nurses cheered when they saw me come out of the door there. This was huge progress for me. And I was exhausted just from that. Got back into bed, passed out. The next day, didn't pass out, I went to sleep. The next day, I walked 20 feet up the hall and then back to my bed. And a couple more days, I walked all the way around the nurse's station. And it was like the hardest thing I ever did, but it felt so good. It's so good to move and to feel the life in yourself, in your muscles, in the organs that were happy to have me, vertical and moving. When I was exhausted again, I'd lay there thinking, come on, healing power, come back to me. Come fill me up again so I can walk a little more. And you know what happened? It came and filled me up again, a little stronger each day. A very distinctive power, and it helped me heal my tissue, and it helped me heal my body's functions and get my blood back to where it needed to be. And it helped me recover from my ability to compose my thoughts and my intentions. Like, my mind was just, even the thought of trying to send an email or something would just be like, I just can't even think about it. And that came back to me. And it was healing the mental exhaustion and helplessness that I'd felt. Even though my circumstances hadn't changed, I still didn't have help at home. But that feeling like I was never going to be okay was lifting. And I was now beginning to make plans for when I got home, and I was taking actions to prepare myself to go home. And when I'd get overwhelmed and scared, I'd get very still, and that power would come back to me then too. And it helped me to trust I was going to be okay. And it helped me to sleep when it was time to sleep. Very precious thing. And it helped me to stand up for myself and find a ride home when the day finally came for me to leave the hospital, which I was very excited about because it meant I could be with my kids and sleep in my bed. And the kids had been staying with their dad the whole time I was in the hospital. So, it was a little too intense for them at that age to come in and see me that messed up. So what is that power that brings us back like that? I've thought about it so much. And there's this saying in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread. Now, I don't lack for bread or I haven't since I was a little kid. But before those years I was in and out of the hospital, when I was devastated emotionally and physically and financially, bread took a new meaning. You know, I used to wonder, what do you mean? What does that mean? Is it symbolic of something? For me, it is that power. It's that life force in me, the energy that comes back. It's what I need to do what I'm meant to do. It causes me to breathe. It makes my heart beat. It keeps going. It's the power that brings my body back from injury, back from the brink. And it gives me power, a daily dose of inner power to be strong again and to work and care for my kids and cry and have friends. And later, that power was there to help me find love again, to have joy in my life, to have less trauma, and to have the insight that seemed to come out of nowhere, how to heal, that I now share with you. It's a power that is here with me right now, so that I can even be with you. It doesn't come naturally for me to just turn on cameras and talk to a camera. But I feel very much that I'm with you when I'm talking about this, and I want to encourage you. I want to remind you of your daily bread, this well inside that refills and refills again. It's the strength to be who you were made to be so long as you live. And you have this. Maybe you've been through terrible times and had to fight to get through it. Maybe you're in that place right now. And whatever you're doing to cope with the injury of trauma in the past or in the present, know that there is a healing power. You may need to be a little quiet to feel it. It's very small at first, very subtle. I found it's good to pay attention to it, to wonder about it, to ask for it to strengthen in you. And so long as you are breathing, to treasure it and revere it, because it gives life to you. And it helps you overcome what has happened to you and eventually to blossom through whatever path of healing you're called to follow. And it always finds you because your life is important and it is infinitely precious.